Oh, I know that sound. It's time for the Beer News Report. Hi, and welcome to the Beer News Report. Cheers. You know, I was watching an original Star Trek episode about a very rich man who bought a planet and moved there to get away from everyone. And considering, we have multi-billionaires who buy entire islands here now on Earth, I can see buying a planet as a reality in the future. Of course, we got to get space travel way more efficient and faster. But I think Elon Musk and his SpaceX engineers, I'm sure they can do it. But back to Star Trek. Now, Captain Kirk, Spock, and Dr. McCoy beam down to the planet, which has this chemical that they need to cure a disease currently running rampant through the Enterprise. And they meet the planet owner. His name is Mr. Flint. Now, Mr. Flint agrees to give the chemicals for the cure, but stalls because he wants them to inspire emotions in Reyna. And Reyna is a cyborg woman that Mr. Flint created. Now, in the process of, all the stalling and stuff, Spock runs a tricorder ring on Mr. Flint and finds out that he's 6,000 years old. It turns out that Mr. Flint is immortal and he's gone by different names in the past like Alexander the Great, Leonardo da Vinci, Brahms, and many, many others. Mr. Flint has acquired so much knowledge and wealth that he's developed a weaponry to overpower the Enterprise. So if he wanted to, he could keep them all there, but they finally talk him into, long story short, Reyna dies of a broken heart. Mr. Flint lets them process the chemicals so they can get the cure and lets them go back to the Enterprise, and the disease is cured. All right, happy ending, right? Who saw that coming? Cheers. It got me thinking, how realistic is immortality? And if not that, how about a really, really long life, like 200 or 300 years? Well, it turns out I'm the only one thinking of this. There are some people way, way more intelligent than me that are doing research on this. The research they're doing is on life extension. And if you do a search on Google or YouTube, you'll find a ton of links on this topic. So that's my subject tonight, extending your lifespan. So let's jump right in. How would someone go about extending a lifespan? And as I said before, there are many, many people working on this, but my favorite is Aubrey de Grey. This is a picture of him, and he's a biologist doing research on life extension. He kind of looks like a ZZ Top singer, right? I mean, if you add his sunglasses and a guitar, he would be a spitting image for them. So cheers to rocking out. Now, he points out that there's 7 ways to extend life. Here's his chart that he puts up on his TED Talk, and I have the link below. Now, I'm not smart enough to explain each method and how it works, but I can give you an overview. All right, so the first one on the list is cell loss or cell atrophy. Now, when you hear about cell atrophy, you think of someone who had a spinal injury and now they're paralyzed, right? So their muscles shrink or atrophy due to lack of use, right? They get smaller. But this can also happen to people who've had a heart attack or brain injury or a disease like Parkinson's. And actually, Aubrey talks about this in his TED Talk. Parkinson's, he says, damages the brain by killing off the cells. Now, brain cells don't regrow. They can make new paths, but they don't actually regrow. You don't get new brain cells. But, he says, by using stem cells, researchers are finding a way to repair this damage. And Aubrey even thinks that Parkinson's will be cured in the near future. In fact, stem cells are probably going to cure several diseases in that time. So, what are stem cells? Stem cells are the building blocks for every other cell. They can change into nerve cells, organ cells, blood cells, muscle cells. Any cell you need, a stem cell can turn into it. Now, there's several types of stem cells. One is the pluripotent stem cell, and that's from embryos, and these are the best. The next one is adult stem cells, and they're from bone marrow, but they have limited use. And then there's the altered adult stem cells. So basically, they're taking the bone marrow stem cells and changing them to sort of mimic pluripotent stem cells, but they're not as good as the real thing. And then there's prenatal stem cells, and this is from the amniotic fluid as well as umbilical cord blood. And again, these are okay, but really there's only one stem cell that's usable on. I think you can see the political problem with this one, right? The best ones are from embryos, unborn babies. So wait a minute. Are you saying that these researchers go down to these abortion clinics and collect the biological waste? No, nothing like that. Researchers can grow these embryos in the lab without the need for a human host. And they grow them for like 3 to 5 days, and then they harvest the stem cells. Nothing happens inside the body, but they are human embryos, right? It has to be, because we need the human stem cells. So they're working on ways to now clone these stem cells once they produce them, but progress is slow. Now, people who are against stem cell research say that, hey, we're playing God. We're creating life and then we're destroying it to fix another life. Now, I don't have an answer for that. So I'm asking you, is it okay to kill something that's not really a baby just yet? It's a cell. It's a group of cells. It doesn't even have a form of a baby. It's just a ball. Now we're going to cut that open and take the cells inside to use that to cure many other people. So is it good to kill off one to save many? That's the guilt trip I'm giving you right now. So think about it. I'm going to have a drink. All right, number 2. Division-obsessed cells. These are cells that grow so fast, usually known as cancer, but not limited to cancer. And it's from cancer research that they found about this. It's called telomeres, right? So what's a telomere? Here's a picture of it, but basically telomere is like a cap on the end of the chromosome. Now, the caps are often compared to tips of shoelaces, right? That little plastic covering at the end of a shoelace. So these tips protect the shoelace from fraying, much like telomeres protect the DNA from fraying or becoming mixed up. As human cells divide, the telomeres get cut and they get shorter and shorter, and eventually it gets so short that it's unable to divide anymore. When that happens, the cell dies or becomes inactive. So why is this important? Well, they found out that in cancer, it produces an enzyme called telomerase, and this enzyme allows the telomeres in cancer to grow back once they've split. So cancer keeps on growing and splitting without ever having to worry about its DNA becoming frayed. So basically, it can live forever as long as the host that it's in keeps on living. But as we all know, it's usually not what happens when you get cancer. So, maybe we can use telomerase in our body, right, to live forever? Well, yes and no. We've tried putting telomeres in our body, telomerase in our body, but and it does make the telomeres grow, but it also causes cancer. They haven't figured out how to do it without causing cancer. So now now there are ways that you can produce more telomerase yourself, right? First, you need to maintain a low to no stress level. If work's causing stress, you have to find a new job that doesn't stress you, because stress ages you. And second, you need to exercise more. I know everyone hates that, but you need to exercise, but don't overdo it. Moderate levels of exercise, not marathons, because marathons stress the body, and stress shrinks the telomerase. And finally, you got to watch what you eat. I hate that one. But omega-3s, fish, salmon, that's good. Green vegetables like kale or broccoli, and even coffee is good, but not alcohol. So unfortunately, I'm reducing my telomerase. Thank you. Cheers. All right, the next one, death-resistant cells. And this is just what the name says. These are cells that are supposed to die, but they don't. And there's several names for them, like senescent cells or foam cells. And these are 2 different types of cells. They just sit around and they weaken our immune system. For instance, now they've done tests on mice. Look at this picture. Both mice are the same age, but the one on top has been treated to get rid of the death-resistant cells. It is much healthier and will live longer than the mouse on the bottom. Now they've tested it on mice and it works, but that doesn't mean it works in humans. So obviously, there's more research, but the thing is that we have a path. So hopefully we'll be able to work on this problem of getting rid of these cells. It's a long shot, but it's worth a shot. Cheers. The next one, mitochondrial mutations. Have you heard of MELAS or MERF or NARP or LAHAN? These are all mitochondrial diseases. Every cell has a mitochondria, and these are the little engines inside the cell. They produce energy that the cell needs to do its function. So if it's a muscle cell, you need it to walk or lift things. If it's a bone cell, you need it for growth and development. So if you have these diseases, then you're tired all the time, or your growth is impaired. It can also cause blindness or loss of balance. There's a number of things that'll happen with you if you have these diseases. Luckily, it's not that common. It's probably why you've never heard of it. Now, researchers feel that the way to fix this is that they go inside the mitochondria and change its gene. Now, that's easier said than done. Right now, they're trying a process called allotropic expression. They're able to go inside and change the gene of mitochondria, but the only thing they've been able to do it in is yeast. All right, so we got a long way to go before we get to human trials. But again, we've started. It works. Let's keep going. All right, here's the research. Cheers. Now, the next two I'm going to do together because they're kind of like different sides of the same coin. So one is intracellular waste products and the other is extracellular waste products. In other words, you get waste inside the cell and waste outside the cell. For example, Alzheimer's disease has this. The intracellular waste product is called a tangle. The extracellular waste product is called a plaque. We need to get inside the cell, and currently they're thinking of using foreign enzymes, sort of like telomerase, but not that one. To do it. I didn't find a name for it, but they just said that they're going to use a foreign enzyme. And that enzyme would go in the cell and clean out the waste that's in it and then leave the cell and be excreted by the body. Now, to remove the waste outside the cell, they're going to try to trigger the immune system to attack it. Now, this is similar to how we tag cancer cells so that our T cells and white blood cells attack the cancer. Same method, but it's a different flag because the waste isn't a cancer. Right? It's a different type of waste. So we're trying to use that method to attack the waste. And again, once it eats up the waste and stuff, it gets excreted by our body. So that's how we would get rid of the external waste products. That's right. We're hiring someone to do the house cleaning. Cheers. All right, final one. Extracellular matrix stiffening. What the hell is that? It's a fancy way of saying hardening the arteries. That's just one example, but it's a fancy way of saying things get hard. The cure is simple. We just need cross-linked breakers. Wait, what? What was that you said? Simple. The cross-linked breaker drug that they're thinking of is elagibrium. Of course, you probably know it as ALT-711, like in this picture, but that was its former name, and they don't use it anymore. Also, if you read the fine print below, it says not for human consumption, for research purposes only. So it's still in the testing phase. But elagibrium is the first drug that breaks down age crosslinks between proteins. What the hell is that? I mean, what is an age? Age, or AGE, stands for Advanced Glycation End Products. It's formation that occurs during aging, and that's what we need to get rid of using elagibrium. Oh, well, that's clear. What I'm trying to say is, when you start getting old, things start getting hard, like hardening of the arteries. And with this drug, they figured out a way of how to fix that. All right, fried chicken for everyone. Cheers. Okay, so that's all 6 conditions and remedies in the chart. And as of July 30, 2020, today, the oldest person that has ever lived made it to 122, and that's a French lady named Jean Clement. But with these discoveries, that record's probably going to be broken. Now, if you can assure me that with these medications, I can live to 100 in good health and be completely mobile and thinking clearly, then I'm up for it. But right now, if I turn my head to see who's knocking on the door, I pull a muscle in my foot. I mean, they're not even connected. I got to get more exercise. COVID's got to go away so the gyms open back up. All right, in my next show, I'm going to discuss the consequences of life extension. So far, I've only talked to you about how they're going about doing it. And over the week, I want you to think about what would the world be like, not if, but when this happens. So I just want to tell you that beer helps the thought process, so cheers. Well, you can see the beer is almost empty. So that means we're at the end of the show. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Please email with any comments using the email address shown. Please like the show by clicking the thumbs up button. And then if you want to get notified of upcoming shows, you can click on the subscribe button. Then when I upload a new show, YouTube will notify you. And as always, keep your beer cold and your interest hot. Cheers.